in this particular situation you're talking about, once again, is alleged over an anonymous source, which the media is really good about always trying to name some anonymous source, and then they make a big deal about it as though it's true.
So you don't think it's true
information. As I said before,
full stop. Do you know that it's not true?
Why would it be true? And then we know that the president, we know that the Navy or the Coast Guard has picked up survivors already and sent them back to their country. So now we're saying that they did it once and they didn't do it again. I don't believe this at all.
Dana Bash, or Horseface as I like to call her, was not ready for big old Markwayne Mullin to go off at her this Sunday morning. For some reason, she thinks she can intimidate and put down a U.S. senator that's big, muscular, tough guy from Oklahoma. I don't know where these little liberal host women get this confidence or ego, but it usually gets thrown right back in their face. It's Sean Daniel here, filming in New Zealand in my new office so I can put out more and more videos for you guys. If you enjoy the videos, consider hitting that like button or supporting me by donating to my Buy Me a Coffee link at the top of the description. Let's go.
President Trump declared that the airspace above and around Venezuela should be considered closed just days after threatening land action in the country, quote, very soon. Venezuelan officials were quick to push back, calling President Trump's comments a, quote, colonialist threat that constitutes an extravagant, illegal, and unjustified aggression against the people of Venezuela.
Trump's not threatening the people of Venezuela. It's the government and what they're doing.
Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, thank you so much for being here, sir. Is the president planning to attack Venezuela?
No, he's made it very clear we're not going to put troops into Venezuela. What we're trying to do is protect our own shores. We've made it very clear to Maduro and to the Venezuela people, which they're not the ones doing this. It's Maduro that's doing this, that we're not going to allow them to continue to use Venezuela as a terrorist country to ship in tons of drugs into the United States and continue to kill our brothers, our sisters, our friends, and family on the streets of the United States. And so President Trump has tried to do this through closing down international water. They continue to ship drugs out. Now they're starting to fly them into the United States through tail numbers that are being disguised as either commercial flights or private flights. And so the president's made it very clear he's shutting down the airspace. And by the way, we gave Maduro an opportunity to leave. We said he could leave and go to Russia or he could go to another country. And the Venezuela people themselves have also spoken up and said they want a new leader and restore Venezuela as the country they used to be, a very prosperous country. But Maduro has absolutely ruined that country.
He's right. If any of you guys have talked to any Venezuelans who actually came from Venezuela, you'll find they have the same opinion about how much he's wrecked the country. And this is why we watch these interviews, so we can learn really the reasoning. Why does Trump make these decisions? Well, if he closes the airspace, they can't even disguise their commercial flights that they're trying to disguise as drug flights. They can't even use them. They cannot even use them if he closes the airspace. If he makes that big decision as the leader of the United States. Now, I don't know how that plays with the other airspaces and other governments that might want to fly in there. But I bet you if he makes that decision, close the airspace, I bet you all these other countries are going to be like, okay, I guess we're not going through there. But you see, that's why we watch these interviews, to find out really why does he make this decision, not why does CNN or MSNBC say he's making this decision. Because when you learn it, it makes sense. It's because of the drug flights.
You said no troops on the ground. What about military airstrikes inside Venezuela?
No.
Hold on. That is such a ridiculous question. Why would we ask a senator or a person in the administration about a military strategy? Well, what is Trump willing to do in this military strategy? Please broadcast it for all the world, even Venezuelan government and Venezuelan military officials to hear. Please tell us on TV exactly what you would do and how, so that then the enemy that you want to try to defeat or bring down, they can know exactly your plans. Like Trump said to Hillary when they were debating in 2015, 2016 about How would you defeat ISIS? And she was like, I have a plan, da 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 da. And Trump wouldn't answer about what his plan is. And he said, because what's the point of me telling my plan to the enemy? That's stupid. Same thing. Stupid question.
He is protecting the United States by being very proactive. This is what peace through strength looks like. We're not going to wait until you come to us. We're going to go to you if you threaten our country. You keep in mind, this drug war that has taken place that the Biden administration turned a complete blind eye to in 2024 killed more Americans on our streets than the entire Vietnam War has, and so or did. And so we are being very proactive by stopping them before they threaten us and threaten our shores. And I support the president and what he's doing here.
Senator, I have to ask, he is clearly very concerned about Central and South American presidents allegedly trafficking drugs to the United States. So if that's the case, why is he planning to pardon the former Honduran president who was convicted by an American jury of drug trafficking, who allegedly said, this is according to testimony from his trial, he would, quote, shove the drugs right up the noses of the gringos by flooding the United States with cocaine?
Now that was an impressive question. Clap it up for Dana Bash. I might have just triggered thousands of you, and now you're in the comments. Sean, how can you say that about Dana Bash? That was a good question.
Well, the particular circumstances that I'm not quite aware of. However, I do know we're trying to build relationships with Honduras. We're trying to build relationships throughout South America and Central America because China has greatly influenced those countries in a negative way. And it's not alleged that South and Central America and Mexico is flooding our streets with drugs. We know that's where they're coming from. And so I think by building new relationships, by allowing people to have a new beginning, he's showing good faith, saying, hey, we're going to work with you as long as you work with us. The minute you want to come punch us in the face, you want to continue to send your illegal drugs to us, we're going to be very proactive against you, which this is what peace through strength looks like.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm excited that we finally have a president that's taking a strong approach.
Okay, I understand that presidential power is pretty much absolute, and I get that. But as an ally of the president, as a senator, you, I'm sure, have an opinion.
You see, she wants him to go against Trump, which he can't really. You see what happens when you go against Trump with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Some of you guys think she's like the devil in disguise because she went against Trump on one thing. And he can't do that. You see, he didn't really answer the question. That was an amazing question she doctored up. And it shows you if Trump is doing this by pardoning an ex-Honduran president who was convicted of drug trafficking and has these quotes about drug trafficking in the United States. It shows you Trump is willing to work with these people if they will bring some benefit to the United States, if they will partner with the United States. He's like, you know what? Let me look past this. Can you do something for me and for us? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about that, because doing that with a guy who talked so much about going against the United States, not the biggest fan of that one. But you let me know what you think. I'm sure if it's a Trump decision, a lot of you guys will be like, yes, it's so great.
Saying that you're going to pardon a guy who was convicted in an American justice system for doing exactly what you're saying, you know, intentionally poisoning Americans with drugs. Is that a good idea?
Well, I wasn't involved in the conversations that he had with the president of Honduras at the time. I believe there's probably a good faith that is being stretched forth here. If you saw the True Social post he put out, there was a direct message. I guarantee you the president's foreign affairs approach is one that's being very effective around the world, a lot better than the Biden administration. That's why world leaders are coming in every single day wanting to visit with the president. That's why the president is able to stop 8 foreign wars and hopefully 9 if we can hopefully negotiate a deal between Ukraine and Russia, because the world leaders respect him. And so what the president is doing is always calculated. And I haven't had a direct conversation with the president about it, but I do trust his natural reaction and his approach to foreign affairs, because we can see it's being very, very effective.
And the only reason the Honduras guy would be willing to work with Trump since he talks so bad about the United States and throwing drugs into it, is because he needs something and he wants something that Trump can give him, that the United States can give him. Access, maybe a good ally. There's some fruit that this guy wants, and that Trump and the United States can give him, while the United States can get what they want, that's the only reason he'd be willing to work with the United States, because we have so much power and access. And how much of that has to do with Trump, you can make your own decisions on that one. But I bet a lot of it has to do with the way he's leading and what he's doing and some of the positions he's putting himself in with negotiating with such a guy who's really not good. It's like what he did with all these tech entrepreneurs, which in a way, it makes sense why Trump had these dinners with like Zuckerberg and all these other tech guys who once canceled him. They deleted his accounts, banned him on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and then now that he's president again, he had them all. Even Bill Gates. He had Bill Gates and all these people to the White House, pampering them, saying hi, trying to make deals happen, I imagine, because they need to be on his good side. He's the president. And if he can get them turned around and doing something better, at least while he's in power, it helps us. But he's also making deals with these people that really were evil. They banned him from social media platforms, and now they're getting to be at the White House and get these different deals made. I don't know how Trump does it. I would be like, screw off. You guys are going to pay the price now. But then how many of us, regular citizens, would pay the price? Because they would target more conservatives. Maybe they try to fire back at Trump. I don't know what to make of it. It can be either impressive, the way he deals with these enemies from before, or not strong enough, and you're like, what the hell? I thought these guys were the enemies, and now we're just having them at the White House? Let me know what you think.
New details we're learning about the U.S. attacks on a suspected drug boat, which have killed dozens of people. Now, sources tell CNN that in the first strike in September, one missile disabled the ship and killed many of the crew members. But when some survived that first strike, the military launched a second strike to kill anyone who was left. And these individuals were apparently unarmed, already injured from the original attack. Are you comfortable with that?
Preface to this, they're anonymous sources that have told CNN this, which you could take one of two ways. Anonymous sources, do they really have authority? 2, anonymous sources stay anonymous for wise reasons. If the United States military is doing something messed up, I'm not saying this is messed up, but if the United States military is doing something messed up, you think you want to go on the record with your name? You're telling me that the United States military could not do some things to make you shut up, silence you, put you in jail? There's power plays going on. Now, I'm not saying that's the case here, but be mindful. There's 2 ways to look at anonymous sources. One, that it's delegitimate. You're like, come on. And anyone can come up with this now. We've seen this with the Russian collusion thing. Or 2, it's a wise move by the source because they want to stay alive, want to stay protected.
Well, I don't know if I believe that at all, because we're doing alleged sources. Nothing has been verified by this. We do know that a survivor that did survive in later attacks was picked up by the United States Coast Guard or Navy, I'm not for sure, and was sent back to his country. You guys reported on that. So I doubt very seriously that took place. And unless there was more to the story that the boat was enabled again and they were trying to run again, I don't know, but I don't think this story is accurate. And we keep talking about something that's alleged. It's alleged. It's not, nothing's been proven at all about this. No one's come out and said it was accurate. It's just somebody by an alleged source that anybody can name or make up that this supposedly took place.
Well, the chairman, the Republican chairman of your committee, Armed Services, in the Senate, and the Republican chair of the House Armed Services Committee have both taken enough, see enough credence in this that they say that they are investigating in a bipartisan way, which we haven't seen a lot of in this administration so far. They're promising vigorous oversight, to be precise. You
got to catch what she just said right there, that there's a bipartisan committee looking into what happened with these shootings, or these shooting downs of these drug boats, which all of us, I imagine, agree with shooting down a drug boat that's coming at the United States and then eliminating the enemy that's trying to bring that drug boat to the United States. But what she said brings a good lesson for all of us to pay attention to when it comes to political stuff. If you're a Democrat, if you're a liberal, you cannot go on TV and talk bad or criticize even one bit something that the main Democrat Party mainstream is doing. If you do, you get attacked. And the reality is the same thing happens in the MAGA movement. If you step out of line and criticize or bring up one bad thing about the MAGA movement or Trump, even just in a small way, you immediately become ostracized, thrown out, get all these labels. And so when some of you guys want to jump to these conclusions, like anyone who speaks out against Trump, just for a second, realize the same thing happens on the Democrat Party. And what type of party are we having if you cannot have your own way of thinking on some things? And as soon as you do, you just get ostracized and you're this crazy person. Happens on the Democrats and we criticize it. And now when it happens in the MAGA movement, we don't criticize it?
Well, I was going to say, they didn't specifically name this issue. They said of the whole operation that's going on in international waters against these terrorist organizations trying to flood our streets with drugs. They said they're going to have oversight of it. They didn't specifically name this particular situation.
Okay, but
by the way, in the House, they did the same thing.
Okay, as part of that broad oversight process, and if they do find that the defense secretary gave an order to eliminate people who were already injured on a boat, which a lot of legal experts say is illegal. Mark Kelly was just here and he said it's potentially a war crime. Should Pete Hegseth face consequences?
Listen, you're once again making assumptions that's not even kind of accurate, I don't believe. All we're doing is talking about an assumption. This hasn't been proven. It hasn't been said it was actually true. And as far as Mark Kelly, what he says, Mark Kelly is saying the most ridiculous things I've ever heard right now. He's encouraging men and women in uniform to question the orders of superior officers. He just got done saying that the president was racist because he doesn't like brown people. Yet I sit in front of you as a Cherokee Indian, and I'm very close friends with the president. It's ridiculous what Mark Kelly is saying, and he's losing credibility every single day. In this particular situation you're talking about, once again, is alleged over an anonymous source, which the media is really good about always trying to name some anonymous source, and then they make a big deal about it as though it's just true.
So you don't think it's true
information. As I said before,
full stop. Do you know that it's not true?
Why would it be true? And then we know that the president, we know that the Navy or the Coast Guard has picked up survivors already and sent them back to their country. So now we're saying that they did it once and they didn't do it again. I don't believe this at all.
Great response by Mark Wayne Mullen, and a ridiculous question by Dana Bash. Typical woman move. The hypothetical situation question to put you in a corner. If you guys know what I'm talking about, make sure you hit that like button. If you know what I mean about this typical woman move. Guys can do it too, but it's more of a woman move. What if, hypothetically, you were in a situation where this happened, he said this, she said this, how would you respond? Would you defend me? What would you say to me? You're like, what? Hypothetical? What? Like she tried to do. What if it's true? Would you disagree with Hegseth? Should he face penalties? Honey, it's not been proven true. Calm your horses.
Because a lawyer in the Pentagon said you can't do that again, and then they didn't. Then they actually listened the second time? Is that possible?
No, absolutely not. And I don't know why we're spending so much time on this. The president and the Secretary of War has been very clear they're going to use lethality against our enemies, home and abroad. This has been very clear what's going on right now, that the drug organization that is considered a terrorist organization that is flooding our streets with drugs, that's killing Americans every single day, they're being proactive on it. Good on them. Are we doubting that these drug dealers are actually drug dealers? Do we think they're just out there fishing? Do we doubt that this is a terrorist organization that's killing thousands and thousands of people on our streets? What are we questioning here? These individuals don't care about the lives of our friends and families. Why do we care if we take them out in international water? It is a war because they have declared war on our streets, and the president and Secretary Hegseth is doing exactly what we should be doing, being proactive against our enemies, and that's what they're doing here. And I applaud them for doing something, because the past administration did absolutely nothing, why thousands of Americans died on our streets.
Yep. Nothing to see here. Just going towards the United States just so I can do some good fishing. Oh, I just have tons of baby powder down in the back. A bunch of bags. White powder. Nothing to worry. Just here fishing. Just here fishing. That's what they want you to believe.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that, again, that it's the Republican chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Republican chair of the House Armed Services Committee who say that they want to look at the whole operation, which you just described. Thank you very much.
The whole operation.
Yes, Senator, thank you.
Well, we have oversight.
Yeah.
That's our job. We have oversight, and there's nothing wrong with oversight.
Absolutely. It just hasn't always been carried out in recent months. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
She had to throw that in there at the end. Oh, hasn't always been carried out, though. You guys aren't really doing your job. She hasn't been doing her job because she barely ever questions a liberal that comes on the show. It's always like, oh, Patsy Cake, let me give you little massages. Never question any of the ridiculous stuff you believe. It's Sean Daniel here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to continue the Sunday marathon, I'll have another video right here, and I'll see you there.